there's enough people in here. And oh, you already got, oh, nice. You already got some video loaded up and shit?
Mm-hmm.
Me taking forever to get ready like normal? Definitely not a regular race car driver. I'm like, doo, put on a glove, take off a glove. Yeah. Put on my helmet. Take my helmet back off.
We're right. First turn in.
Yeah.
Camera down.
I was like, I don't remember us running them that. That's a good idea, but I'm like, that's a lot of leverage on that fucking thing to try and hold it. Really? Huh. Good evening. How are we doing, fine gentle people? I'm just going through my emails. Was at the track all day. It was a good day. We broke a car, which is fun. We'll talk about that. A little clickbaity for you. We'll come back to it. We didn't break a car, it broke. So, you know, kind of the one that's in the picture here with my helmet in plain view. This would be our new 991.1 GT3. Its first major outing with the 991.2 GT3 4-liter in it. We've been getting a lot, and I mean a lot, of inquiries from very anxious 991.1 GT3 owners about, thank you, Ted, for teaching me that trick. Appreciate it. About the finger followers and, oh my God, what do I do? And I need to buy this, and I need to buy cams, and I need to rebuild the engine. And no, you don't need to do any of that. You don't need to do any of that. You need to inspect. You need to replace worn finger followers with new stock finger followers so that you prevent cam wear. And by preventing cam wear, your engine will last a very long time, because it's the cam wear that's going to introduce a lot of metal into the engine. As soon as you introduce metal into the oil, you now get an abrasive oil slurry, which wears away bearing clearances, and then all kinds of bad things can happen. So, I was speaking to a gentleman on Instagram. Another couple guys have called. One added his interpretation of what was said on a Facebook group. So I had to kind of, because I'm in all the Facebook groups, I had to kind of go in and help people understand. It's, that was a wave. Thank you for letting me go by. We try and be courteous in our track groups, but anywho, great track day today. Wonderful, welcoming environment. This was, we went to a Hooked on Driving day. The Hooked on Driving franchise in Pacific Northwest has been purchased by Mr. Jack Ding and his team. It's been him and a couple guys that have procured it. Very welcoming, very professional. Paul Blake is the chief driving instructor for those of you who are in the Porsche Club of America in the Pacific Northwest region, or were at some point, should know Paul. Fast guy, sly, dry British humor, super nice guy, fast driver, just wants to help people get faster, generally speaking. He wants to keep Miatas from terrorizing the track when they shouldn't be on it, but that's a different question. I'll get to that here in a minute. Don't let me forget about the Miata I had to dodge to get off track because he decided he couldn't see me. Hola, Mr. Ed, I said. Wonderful day out there today, and your car is sexy as hell. Ed's car, as it's well known, silver is not my favorite color. But Ed's car is beautiful. It's got this nice little play of metallic in it, kind of picks up some light blue hints in sun and some pinks and whatnot. It's a YSOC car, so it's got the carbon upper flap. It is a 992 GT3 RS for those of you who don't know Mr. Ed. And you should know Mr. Ed. He is a wonderful human being. He's very giving of both his time and his dollars. Like he's making one of our guys' days because he needs a high torque, so he can swap some tires and such around. And he kind of gave an incentive that the boys could not refuse in order to get the high torque there this evening, so that he can swap his tires around for tomorrow, which is great. So, and I know it helps them out, which is awesome. So yeah. Anyone lucky enough to know Ed is better for it. Let's see. What other fun footage do you have? Because that was kind of fun to see. That was me going, oh, there's Ed's car. There's Ed's car. It's gorgeous. It's got it all blacked out and tinted. He's rocking street headers and a titanium muffler. It sounded great. I've got some videos that I took. Let me send these to Justin. Let me send these to Justin. Maybe he can get them up on here. We'll see. I'll throw them here in Slack, social media. Un segundo, por favor. I don't know what I'm gonna get here. We'll just throw some of these. I actually walked up to the top of the hill at our local racetrack, the Ridge, and took some vantage videos that I don't normally get very many of. So there you go. I sent you 5. I don't even know what the hell they are. So we'll see what they come back. We should have some great pics from the event. Kirk was there. Justin was there. Justin had to leave a little bit early because be nice if we had that video that Ted had that he showed.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get that up for next week. We'll tell you more about that. But the white car, the 991.1, in hard left-hand corners, like into 6, and is actually in 5 and again in 6, this little white one here. That's actually right when I let Ted go by on the lap coming around, because he was flashing me, and I'm like, well, yeah, sure, fine, fucking go. You're good. I know you're faster than me. Off you go. She was puffing white smoke. So first we thought it was tire, right? Leaned over real hard. It was tire. It wasn't tire. When we came into the paddock and we started feeling the tire, no marks in the tire, no lines in the tire, no obvious rub marks, but there was a lot of fluid. And the fluid smelled like transmission fluid. And those of you who have a 991.1 may remember that the PDK vent is on the passenger side. And when you have a PDK service, it is often the case that when the transmission gets refilled, it might be slightly overfilled. And the only way to tell that is when it pukes fluid out. So when it gets hot, you get it leaned over and it kind of goes bleh, bleh. This was a little bit more than a burp, if you will. So it was a little unsettling. And it could have, honestly, that may have been the universe saying, do not proceed, take caution, young man. And I'm a big believer in synchronicity, that when something happens, you should pay attention to it and not just brush it off as inconspicuous or inconsequential nonsense, but just like, is it worth it to really push this car anymore? I got, some laps in it. It's quick, pulls like a freight train with the new engine up the hill, and this is a bone stock car. Suspension felt good, tires felt good, car's nice. I mean, I went as fast in it with MCS and whatnot as Ted did with it bone stock. Still not great. I went 145. It was first session, blah blah blah, excuse. I think by the end of the day, I could have gotten it down to a 140, probably a 144 and change, maybe a little bit more. But So we paid attention to it, and on the way home, or on the way back to the shop, Justin took it back. It started making what is likely an axle noise. And Doug, welcome. Doug would probably recognize this noise because this happened in his 991.1. The boot lets grease out. The axle starts to run dry. It kind of gets this rattly ness to it. So we'll get some CV joints. If we need axles, we'll get axles. We'll also take a look at the trans. But in general, pretty good first outing for, I mean, engine ran great. Car shifted great, even though it wanted to puke out fluid. 19-inch wheels looked great. I mean, car's pretty sexy. White with white gold, old school fin speeds, kind of 5-spoke. Do you have a shot of the car at all? I've got one post wash from yesterday I can put in here. I actually spent some time to wash it and get all the track rubber and shit off of it, which was necessary. There you go. It's kind of a good pick. You zoom in, it's not bad, but I'm not always known for my photographic prowess, but on occasion I'll take a good shot. I have a lot of very talented artistic eyes that I'm surrounded with. There you go. Yeah, it's not a great picture of how good it looks, but it's not bad. It'll give people the idea. Yeah, it's in social media. But yeah, car was great. We put Supercar 3Rs on it. It's our preferred 19-inch tire when we can get them. I had to kind of put some shit together to be able to get those. Doug did a great job of getting these wheels finished. It's a very special, sexy sauce combination of some powder coating and some painting on the wheel. It's beautiful. Car looks great. It's going to look even greater, even better once we get our new deck lid on it, our wing on it, and our splitter on it, and the dive planes on it. And I bet you this car is easily into the 140s. Easily, easy. This thing pulled so hard up the hill. For those of you who don't know, the Ridge has an uphill complex that is turns 8, 9, and 10. And you're pretty much full throttle for quite a while going all the way up there. And you can get up to about 125, 130 miles an hour. The Cup car gets to about 137. What's going on, Justin? Welcome. Before you gotta reel it all in because you got a hairpin coming up, and then you take it around and off you go and you finish going up the track. But yeah, the car pulled really hard, and this is still stock. All we have on the car, it's still got stock headers, no intake. This is just side deletes and a titanium muffler, and it's pulling hard. I can't imagine what this thing is going to do once we get the full power package on it, tweak the tune to take advantage of that, because the 991.2 GT3 with our full package gains 60 wheel horsepower. So if it's stock right now and it pulls this hard, this thing's going to rip your face off. It's going to be so awesome. And I'm telling you, yeah, this is you love the race navigator mount. That's pretty dope. You got that momentum drift car checker that, just going back and forth to see how much momentum you got. How many G's you're taking both ways? Sorry, my beard keeps scrubbing the microphone here. I'll see if I can move it down so I stop giving you guys that Velcro sound. There we go. There we go. It's so nice to be so close to my face. That's better. All right. You guys still hear me all right? Yeah, so we got that fixed. Justin pulled a extra dongle out and fixed it. And hopefully by next time, we'll actually have all of our Race Navigator Pros installed, so they're permanently installed in the car. and we don't have to dick around with any of that anymore. So, great fun day at the racetrack. Let me talk a little bit about the HOD day. We had 14 people in the advanced group, and we were there to do shakedown on the white car, which we call the Lab Mouse, and the black car, which is the 992 GT3 RS, which we call the Lab Rat. Mouse is white, so that's how Mouse started. We were kind of putting the final touches. It's just when I go to the track, I don't wear nice shit, Justin. So, but if you see me next Friday, I'll probably have a sweater on. Depends on the weather, though. It's starting to get warmer. So Lab Rat was out there, and we were testing our MCS package, MCS three-way package in the 992 GT3 RS, and it continues to impress. It continues to impress, as we thought. So one of the things that we found, even with the car stock, is that when it's pulling very high G loads coming up a corner, the rear tire will rub in the wheel well. So it'll make contact with the fender liner and begin to wear through. And that's not great. It's not the end of the world, but it's not great. We'd rather it be held below that, because that means in transients, or back and forth, if they're at really high G loads, then you may end up with a situation where the car body bounces off the tire, right? You kind of hit the tire and it bounces up. It's not ideal, right? We should be able to control the chassis movement such that it doesn't bottom out on the tire. So when it did this stock, we found this at Road Atlanta last year. And when we put MCS in it, we were taking special note of this to see if we were going to have the same issue, and we tested it, and we did. So we've added, Charles and I did some homework, and we put together what's called a bump spring package for the rear of this car, and we may offer it as an option for some of our other aero cars, aero setups. It's not necessary for everything, but it'd be a nice to have for some of them. So we'll stay tuned for that. But we were taking it out, and essentially what the bump spring does is it sits kind of at the top of the stroke, kind of hangs out at the top, and as the spring compresses, the main spring compresses, you're going to reach a point where the damper contacts the bump spring, and we get some additional spring rate, such that it is similar to a bump stop, but a bump spring is linear. It's not, it doesn't increase the rate with, what am I looking for? Non-linear, sure. It doesn't increase rate as you squish it, right? As you move into it. A lot of rubber bump stops are, they increase rate as you squish into them, and so you don't end up with a lot of available travel till the rate is really, really high. And so it can feel like the car kind of bumps off of them. And this is what we were testing today. So we wanted to see if the bump spring just gives us more chassis control as the car leans over. Kinda, yeah. So trophy trucks have something that's called a hydraulic bump spring, and it's essentially an additional damper that exists in the last bit of stroke of the main dampers, and it can apply a lot of force in compression to keep things from bottoming out. It's like it slows it down, gives it a lot that sound. It makes that sound too. Just in case you didn't know. Helping you out. So we were testing the bump springs, and they are imperceptible on track. Completely imperceptible. You cannot tell that the car has them or it doesn't. The car just leans over, takes a set. It doesn't like bounce off of them as you're, kind of getting into it and out of it or into it. And it's not. So Charles did a great job matching the spring rate of the bump springs to be a continuation of the mainspring rates as the mainspring are starting to get into coil bind. You know, we're actually starting to get losing an amount of spring. So I'd say that was a win. We actually changed for the RS. We were running an experiment. Charles, let me back up. I actually have some of these. Relatively simple device. Just lost something. What are the, oh. So these look like just some plates with holes in them, right? And that's because they are plates with holes in them. We did this on the GT4 RS, and because Charles is very crafty, I'm gonna make a lot of tinky noises here so you guys can see what these are. So this is our super soft sway bar extender for the GT4 RS. And after you've done MCS, after you've done the Aero, this surprisingly makes a world of difference. This was we sent one of these to our friends at Driver's Choice, and Simon tested these on his full Lab Rat GT4 with MCS, and he's like, yeah, these are perfect. We need to sell these immediately, because it did. He was struggling with finding that last little bit of grip in the front of the car, and this got him there. So we tested. We have these in the Lab Rat. In the Lab Mouse, in the 991.1. Ted didn't get a go in the Lab Mouse. I was pretty happy with where things were. I wasn't really ready to twist dials. I was hoping for my second session to really kind of go out because I was getting the rust off from not driving all winter. And didn't get a chance to do that, so we'll do that again. But we have something similar in effect on the 992. And this was, we did this with a revision to the geometry of the adjustable sway bar end links that we use on the 992. So we ran extra soft front bar on the 992 RS, and Ted's summation of that was it made the front end feel a little lazy in transition. So you'd like track out from 6 where you're getting the wheel straight and you're bringing the car kind of a little bit, go down. Yes, this is front bar only, Larry. He didn't like it. And so we compensated by giving it a touch more compression, low speed compression in the front. And we only had one more click to give it. So we would probably back that click back, and that solved it. That made it better. So one click of low speed compression with the extra soft on the 992 RS gave the front the stability that we were looking for. And when I drove the RS, it was, again, chef's kiss. It's just so good. It's so easy. I'll come back to it, but just to give you guys a for instance, I'm not typically a guy in traffic that can keep working my way down 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths at a time, right? This is something that I watch Ted do, and I am very much in awe of his ability to just slowly walk his times down, right? Sometimes quickly, but generally he's like half a second, then another 2 tenths, then another 3 tenths, and then he finally gets to, okay, we're here. And then he'll kind of stay within a tenth or two of whatever that time is, based on traffic and whatnot. So even with traffic today, I was able to start at like a 145 in the 992, got it down to 144.5, then a 143.9, and then a 143.7, and then a 143.5, and then a 143.0. And that 143.0 should have been a 142.9, but I got held up. So, and this is in traffic. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think without traffic and more than, and this is a session after lunch. I'm never fast after lunch. I don't think anybody's fast after lunch. And I went out with the air pressures at 24, 25 in the Goodyears because it was after lunch. And long story, the pump went back with Justin. The pump didn't have a battery. I was feeling lazy, so I just got in the car and got them up to temp. But that means I only had like 4 hot laps to do something, 5 hot laps to get some time in and really start to push the car as the tires had finally come up to temperature. But in general, really super fun day, great crowd. I did have to dodge a Miata at one point in the 991. For those of you who are track drivers, you will appreciate this situation. So we're coming into a tight left-hand hairpin. One of the guys I track with a lot, that I trust a lot, he's an instructor for this group. He was the lead for this group. He gives me a point, and the guy that he's right up on the ass of in front of him has a point. And so I'm taking the point from David, and the other guy's pointing, and I'm pretty sure the point wasn't from me. I'm not sure if he saw me or not, so I'm kind of giving him a wide berth. And then as I'm alongside him, he starts to come back in because he pointed, and the guy that he was pointing at was David, which was in front of me. So this was on me. It was a bit of an aggressive move to come and kind of get them both. But dude was in a Miata, so I knew I could get around him pretty quick. So he started to come towards me. I moved a bit off track. It was relatively safe. I just puffed a little bit of dirt, got 2 wheels off, puffed some dirt, murdered a cone right through the center of the car, got around him, got back on track, went along my merry way. So, learnings from this. Generally, when we go to the track, we're tracking with guys that we have tracked with a long time and that we trust are going to make good decisions and are heads up. There were a couple people in this particular run group that I didn't know and I hadn't had any experience with. And there's always going to be a big disparity in times when you've got GT3 RS and Miata, for instance. There was an E36 BMW. He was quick. There was a Camaro in the group. They were fine. Everybody was heads up. Everybody pointed. Everybody was good. This was just a bit of a miscommunication potentially. But this is the bad thing that can happen in a track day with just a simple miscommunication, right? So, likely, what would have been better is for me to wave it off and let the Miata let David by, then know that I'm behind him, and then let me by, because we're kind of on 2 straights. You know, it was after a thumb, there's one right-hander, and then there's another straight. So I could have gotten around him in relatively quick order. It wouldn't have been that big a deal. So in retrospect, I wouldn't even call it a close call, because I believe he saw me once the time I was getting around him and I was a little bit off track, and then kind of came back in front. And I knew that he couldn't accelerate as fast as I could. So, yeah, some public service announcement, if you will. Take care. Make sure that your intentions on track are communicated well. And if you are the giver of the intention, go around me. Stay on your line until whatever you said go actually goes. Don't do it and then come back into the racing line anyway. Don't give the point if you're gonna come back into the racing line anyway. And as the taker of the intention, then be reasonable with, can I make this pass? Should I make this pass? These kinds of things. So I won't go so far as to say I got away with one today, but it's probably the closest that I haven't had to dodge anybody in a while. Say it that way. Besides that, everything was great. I know that'll get taken care of. And we're really interested to partner with Hooked on Driving here in the Pacific Northwest. We are, Jack and I had a great conversation. We're going to try and put together a Hooked on Dundon private open track day. So for those of you who are in the Pacific Northwest, are Dundon customers or Dundon customer adjacent, you know, you're just one of the homies. You might not even bought anything from us, but you know, we just homies, and you're a good driver, and we know you. You know, we've tracked with you. Then pay attention. Let's get this done. Are we drunk drive talk? Huh? Maybe try the English version of that again. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. No, none of the drinking was happening while we were on track. That would be dangerous. And am I talking while I'm drunk? Well, I've had a few sips of whiskey. I wouldn't go quite so far as to say I'm drunk, but I appreciate the comment. Thanks for that. What else? So, Mouse may have an axle. It's puking PDK fluid. We'll get all that addressed. The lab rats, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, for those of you who are interested in an MCS package for that car, we're going to get things documented. Oh, I didn't get to the sauce. So Ted, with the car stock with our power package, was 140 and change. Let's say he wasn't able to clip that digit into the threes. We did the MCS package, and he was able to get, I think the last time out, 139, I'll say it's 139.9, something like that. Today, he was able to get it down to 139.5, and he believes there's a 138 in the car without too much trouble, with no traffic and just being able to send it. And he did that on his like 7th lap, the first 39 and the 7th lap, and then he did it again at like 11:30, right before lunch. And talking to him, he's like, "Yeah, I could probably just drive this car at 139s the whole session." So like, it's that killer. For those of you who don't understand, Ridge times our Cup car, Ted in the Cup on slicks is like a 136. Is that right, Justin?
I think so.
What's that?
Yep.
Yeah, 136. I'm sure if Ted can join, I think Ted's probably still in the car driving home. So it's, and this is on street tires versus slicks. So only a couple seconds off of a Cup car in a pro driver's hands going around the same circuit. The other interesting tidbit we learned is there's another gentleman there whose name I do not remember, but he is also very quick, has a 992 RS, and he's been running on Trofeo RS's, the super sticky cheater tires for the 992 GT3 RS. And he said in their heat cycle window, he's run a 138 there to a 140 with the Goodyears. So obviously a very competent driver. And we're like, well, shit, the Trofeo RS is worth another 2 seconds? Okay. We'll keep that one in our pocket till when we have Aero and other things. And honestly, and he was saying that the Yoko slicks are good for another 2 to 3 seconds on top of that. So we'll probably put 19s on the car and run Yokos the next time we go out. We'll just throw it on Hashi. Hashi's our tow truck, our Japanese transporter, and haul it to the track that way. and just go full send. See if we can't get like a, I don't know, 134, 135 out of the car with our aero package that's in development. Yeah, we're running the Goodyear. We like the Goodyear on the car. It's consistent. It lasts a long time. Nice big range of pressures that the car still operates in. Aaron's question was, are you guys running the Goodyears? And yes, we are running the Goodyears. The Goodyear Super Sport R, I think is what it is for the 992 RS. So yeah, MCS package is very close to release. We'll put some final notes and dot some I's and cross some T's, get that ready to go. We have our CFD 992 GT3 RS Aero Whiskey Friday Academy probably released before Whiskey Friday next week. I know Justin was working on it this week. It's probably pretty close. There's a lot of little bits and pieces that he's having to grab, graphics that he's trying to generate to make it more clear. So that should be great. And then hopefully here shortly, we should be able to talk to Ryan again about all of the improvements we're going to make to the 992 G3 RS. I don't understand the question, Justin. The just regular Super Sport?
Yeah.
I guess they're supposed to be good? Question mark? Or? I don't know. Yeah, all in all, great first track day of the year. It's already March and this is the first one, but it was a wonderful dry track day. Really fast crew. I'd say there were a bunch of people in the very low 140s in this group. Zhao was out here in his R8. I'll come back to that. No, the Super Sport R is much longer lasting than the Cup 2 R. The Cup 2 R is really only good for like a half a track day, maybe one track day. Super Sports we run, I think the last set we had on for 5 track days? 4 or 5, something like that, before we decided to scrap them. And we go through tires maybe a little bit more because we're trying to get baselines on other changes. So we'll try and put a fresh set of tires on it longer than if you were just Joe casual track day guy on your 992 3RS. You might not need to change them as often as we do. So your mileage may vary. Haha, get it? Yeah. So yeah, good fun track day. Looking forward to doing some more fun stuff with Jack. He runs a tight ship, great crew, great guys there. We did just talk to the PCA Pacific Northwest region, and we're a sponsor of the PCA Pacific Northwest region's DE's driving events this year, same as we did last year. So we'll be buying food and lunch and such like that for folks for those days. It helps them out. We love being able to support our local Porsche club, and it's a great dovetail for us. So get out, get to see some people, get to go out and drive fun cars really fast around the racetrack. So yeah, who's got some questions for me? Because my voice is probably not going to take much more talking because I was like yelling at the racetrack all day. Blah, 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 blah. What else, Justin? What else?
I just got the that's how deep the lag is. They're just hearing your question now.
Oh wow, really? Holy hell! That's how much lag we've got?
I turned it down just in case.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see we're like 5,000.
Yep, I pinned it at 5.
Okay. And full bar, so it's quite a bit more lag than normal because it's got to get processed and get out there. Gotcha. Sorry, catching up. There's a bunch of Ted and Charles are discussing the 992 GT3 RS dev. David, great question. Great question. We get asked this a lot. David's question is: PCCBs for track worth it or swap for just steel? This is a similar question to how many heat cycles do you get out of Hoosier R7s? And there is a great graph on the internet. It's a number of years old at this point, and it's number of heat cycles you get out of a Hoosier R7 and your net worth. And as net worth goes up, heat cycles go down a lot. So somebody of very high net worth may say that Hoosiers are only good for 4 heat cycles. Somebody who doesn't have much money may say they're good for 20. So in our opinion, PCCBs do not have enough feel to modulate them precisely when you're on track. Because brake release, when you're coming off at the end of braking and you're releasing the pedal, will help the car either rotate a little more or rotate a little less, depending on how quickly that release happens or slowly that release happens. What I found in ceramic braked cars, PCCB cars, is they're a little vague to figure out where that is. So depending on your aptitude on the racetrack, that will kind of dictate if that's important for you or not. They are lighter than steel. In my opinion, lightness is overrated on the racetrack. That said, the magnesium wheels we had on the 991.2 GT3 RS, you could tell the difference on the racetrack when you went from the heavier aluminum wheels to the slightly lighter magnesium wheels. We like PFC. We like PFC calipers. We like the PFC discs. We like the pad compounds for the track specifically. The brakes are very linear, very crisp. They have a great release characteristic, and they don't have very much, if not all, taper. So I don't spec any of my cars with PCCBs. So asking me, what about this pod compound? What about that pod compound? Have you exhaustively tested all things to have the opinion that you do? No, I just know that our Cup car came with steel brakes. And if a ceramic were all that in a bag of chips, it would have ceramic brakes. And it doesn't. So I defer to motorsports in that regard. And if ceramic brakes were robust enough, had great feel, I believe that we would see them on more race cars. Now, that said, in Formula One, they are carbon. They're not even ceramic. They're full carbon brakes. But you can't run full carbon brakes on a street car that's going to be run in the rain. Because as soon as you put water, the water will get into the disc, the water will get into the pad, and then you have to steam all of the water out before you get any friction between those two surfaces. Not great for a street car. So I am generally a PCCB pessimist. I have them on my Aston Martin. They're great for the street. They don't make a lot of dust. They don't squeak much. They're very grabby. Not my favorite in the way they feel, but as far as when I'm washing the car, they're freaking amazing. You know, all my Porsches have race compound pads in it, and they're horrible. They freaking throw dust everywhere. But again, it's a horses for courses kind of situation, right? I also have tire boogers all over the car and tire marks all over the car because it goes to the racetrack. So you gotta care for it accordingly. My Aston Martin's my little cream puff baby girl. So,
Like this? Yeah.
it's kinda, yeah, Justin, I kind of agree that, and I'm sure there's racing regulations around running ceramic or not, yada, yada, yada. PCCBs are, the care and feeding of a PCCB disc is more than that of a steel disc. Last I checked, PCCBs to replace them for the entire car is like 20 grand. Now, there are cheaper alternatives for aftermarket ceramic discs and the like, and I'm sure they do a great job. But I like the Giro discs for steel replacements with the existing calipers. I like PFC as a complete braking package alternative. The feel from the PFCs are fantastic. I believe unmatched, but your mileage may vary. Everybody has an opinion. We have assholes and opinions. Those are the two things that we have. And so, you know, knock yourself out. Do not take my word as gospel, but we have potentially more experience than most in this regard. Wow, 44K. Jesus, really? PFC compounds for advanced track day driver. Which car again, David? It's going to depend on the car. The 331 and 332 are, they're their non-progressive rate. They don't increase with temperature. They're kind of flat. Good for street car. You can be an opinionated asshole. I am often accused of being an opinionated asshole, but it's cool. I don't get bent out of shape about that stuff. And we'll come back to this. Ed and I had a therapy session, if you will, at the track today. And I'll ask your opinion about this in the comments. I want you guys to comment about this. 331, 332 is going to be great for a very aggressive breaker with high friction coefficient tires, with sticky tires. So somebody who's on the brakes and they have the traction control turned on. You know, we had an issue with our 992 RS. Ted would drive it, and we had PFC. What do we have on it? PFC 01s? I forget. 992 RS. All right. So we had their progressive. And I'm saying it wrong. It's digressive, I believe, where the friction coefficient increases with temperature, and the car would get into a version of ice mode with them. So we swapped back to the stock pads, and PFC makes 331, 332 for this reason. They put those together on the GT4 Club Sport, I believe, because an aggressive rear biased friction was throwing the stock traction control into fits. Just didn't like it. So steel discs, 331, 332, I think you're gonna be really happy with that. Geodisc actually makes some compounds that have worked well for us here in the Pacific Northwest. We still have them to test. We wanted to go back to stock first. Now we're going to put the PFC calipers and discs on the car. And there'll be a number of pad compounds that we'll test before we kind of give the the Dundon Lab Rat PFC package for the 992 RS are kind of seal of approval. This will also probably go part and parcel with going to 19-inch wheels and tires, but that's a thing for later this year. We're in discussions with a wheel manufacturer out of Spain. They make rally car wheels. You might know who they are with that, because they're offering both aluminum and magnesium wheels, and I was unwilling to use any wheel manufacturer that does not have destructive testing capabilities in-house. I want to know that the wheels are 1,000% going to survive how we use them. We've had Ed had the unfortunate experience of buying wheels that were marketed as track wheels and magnesium, and he used them as marketed, and they blew up. And luckily, he was fine, and the car came out unscathed. It had our splitter on it, so it kind of slid as like a belly pan kind of thing. And the car was okay. There's a bit of damage. I think the PCCB rotor, I think, might have gotten damaged at that point. But yeah, he was able to put it all back together and get the car sold. The car had some bad juju, so he sold that one, and he got himself a 992 RS, which is great. So the wheels, we'll see. We really like Forgeline. Forgeline, and this is a little telling, Forgeline won't make magnesium wheels currently because they can't find a forging that meets their standards. So that's why I was like, if these guys in Spain can make them, and they can be made in the way that they make their rally wheels, then they should be pretty damn tough. We'll see. Still early days with that, but that's just some things we're working on. We'd essentially start with 19-inch for the 992 RS and stock size for the 992 RS, 20 and 21s would be what we would look to do in that regard. But that is not what the poll is. For those of you who have 992 RSs, let us know if you would be interested in such a wheel package. But yeah, Ed and I have known each other for a long time. And Ed can be, what can Ed be? Ed can be frustrating from a business standpoint at times. Never from a place of malice, but just from a place of, I want this, I'm not sure, I think I want this, I'm not sure, I'm gonna buy this, oh, I shouldn't have bought this, I'm gonna return it, I'm not sure. So he kind of goes back and forth, which is fine. It's his prerogative to, ensure that he wants a thing or doesn't want a thing. And so sometimes Ed and mine's interactions have been spicy. We'll just say it that way. Ed says, I'm angry. I don't believe I'm angry. I don't think I'm angry. I think I'm pretty straightforward. And if somebody says some bullshit about the company that I've put 10 years into, and they say it in a public place, that I have a right to refute it and to correct it. Yeah, totally. Justin, you and Ed get along great. Both of you guys think I'm an asshole, so it's perfect. You guys, but it's funny. It's always interesting to me because when I get on Whiskey Friday, and don't forget that Whiskey Friday was the thing that I would use as a catharsis to get out into the world of the bullshit that we have to deal with, well, show me the dyno numbers. We give them the dyno numbers. I don't believe your dyno numbers. Well, why'd you ask for the dyno numbers? If you don't believe it, then why'd you ask for it in the first place? That kind of stuff. Yes, Ed is awesome. Ed is awesome, and he's very heartfelt. He wears his heart on his sleeve. There's no pretense at all. And I've learned over the years, I'm not very political. That's why I had to make my money with my own businesses. I didn't survive in corporate America very well. When somebody does some stupid shit, I say, why'd you do that stupid shit? And when they're above me in the food chain, that doesn't work very well. I mean, not obviously a dope. I get it. You should hold your tongue on occasion, but come on. I mean, literally, I'll tell you guys this from my history. So I was a young process engineer. I got hired by a chemical company. I was a process engineering manager at that point. I was global tech services manager for a company selling into the industry I came from. So our manufacturing, the COO of the company, there was a lot of lot-to-lot variation in the thing that we manufactured. And company was in Delaware. It was made in a big warehouse. And lo and behold, there was seasonality to the thing that we were manufacturing because it was a chemical polymerization-based process. So in the summer, it's hot and humid. In the winter, it's really cold and dry, and they weren't controlling the environment of the manufacturing. And so the manufacturing manager came in. This was after I'd been there, 2 years. And I was obviously doing well enough to be invited to a meeting with all the department heads and the CEO and the COO and all this kind of stuff. So it was big, yeah, not DuPont, but in that vein. I didn't work for DuPont. Company was called Rodell, if you care. And so I'm sitting there at the table, and the current guy that was running manufacturing said, all this process variation, I think it's chaos theory. And he said 100% straight face, and he was serious. He thought it was an uncontrollable thing, that there was no ability to understand it, and essentially we should just give up. Now, what I didn't tell you is we have a sister plant in Japan, and they made a very similar product, and their product had very little lot-to-lot variation. And why did their product have very little lot-to-lot variation? Well, let me tell you, Learned Whiskey Friday friends. Their process was temperature controlled, meaning the roller that the things would go on to get put into the polymerization tank, that was temperature controlled, and it could be cooled or it could be warmed. And the chamber that these things went through was big and long, the big 50 feet, roll of textiles going through, and then it would dip through the polymerization chamber and come up around and go around a curing roller and this kind of shit. They had, 90% lower lot-to-lot variation. And so when the manufacturing manager said, it's chaos theory, I literally could not hold my tongue. I'm like, chaos theory is the theory that a butterfly flaps its wings in Thailand and we get a tornado in Louisiana. And yes, there is something, it has its basis in quantum mechanics, blah, blah, blah. So yes, things can be connected in very strange ways that we can't understand. This was obviously not one of them. And I said something along the lines of, are you kidding me? You must be stupid to believe that. Now, in retrospect, that probably was not the most eloquent way or politicized way to share my concern about giving up on trying to control the lot-to-lot variation of this product that I personally had experienced, and as a customer, and we ended up using the Japanese version of it because it had much less lot-to-lot variation. Just a very long-winded way of saying, when I see a thing, I generally say a thing. I'm kind of a straight shooter in that regard. So I'm generally not angry. I try my best to avoid things that we see online, especially stupid shit. You know, when it's obviously slanted against us, like there was an Instagram post put up from somebody who's a fan of JCR exhausts. That's cool. Knock yourself out. You had a great experience with them. Cool. That's great. Do I think ours are better? Of course I do. We make them to be the best in the market. That's fine. And it was some steamroller rolling over a bunch of exhausts, and it had, you know, names kind of put on it. And I mean, the thing that I found offensive of that, quite honestly, is he was comparing us to guys like Valvetronic. Now, you can go on Alibaba and find their stuff. You can't go on Alibaba and find ours. So I found that a little offensive, but whatever. I get the intent behind it. He's very happy with his experience with one of our competitors. Cool, knock yourself out. And then there was somebody in the comments that said, Jamie at Dundon is the worst. Wow, okay. Obviously, I didn't do something right by this guy. Now, come to find out, I know who this guy is. And he was a local customer that was, for lack of a better term, using the shit out of us. But hey, we got an answer for that, because I gotta watch the time here. I'm gonna blow my ability to go get dinner because we're not having any drops. So anywho, I don't believe myself angry. I believe myself pretty tolerant. I believe that I generally have my emotional shit together and only give what I get when it's appropriate at this point. I'm also 50. Before I was like in my 20s, so just kind of blah, 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 blah. Brian shared that he has surface transforms on his 997 RS. Love them road and track. That's great. If you love them, use them. I like steel. I like the feel of steel. I like the release of steel. There you go. David, I would still question the release characteristics of a ceramic disc from the pad selections that you've got to use them with. If you haven't tried steel, then you probably should. You should try it. I know a lot of high-spec GT cars come as PCCB cars because it adds value, supposedly makes them more valuable for resale, et cetera, et cetera. That's cool. Anyway, one more set of questions, and then I'm out of here to go get some hamburgers for the evening. How'd we make it through 520 without any drops? We have called Comcast. We are upgrading our internet, but you might notice that there is a longer lag now between the words that I say and when I read your comments and when the comments actually come in. So Justin is throttling us internally with the speed of the upload, so that we might be able to sneak under the throttling limit. It's running about half the kilobits, about 5,000. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So typically we're at like 9 to 10,000 kilobits. We're at 5,000 kilobits, and it's been full steam ahead. Has no problem with the upload. So we're kind of throttling ourselves, and the only thing that, from a quality standpoint, that's the difference is the lag. Is the lag with being able to interact with all of you in the chat. So, Brian, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, what the weight difference is. Obviously, a PCCB is going to be lighter. And like I said earlier, I believe that weight is overrated. It gets people into trouble. I want the lightest wheel. Cool. I can give you the lightest wheel. It's made out of paper mache. It's probably not going to last very long. Probably going to break. Probably going to flex a lot. Probably not going to hold your suspension geometry very well. But it's very, very light. And if that's the only thing you care about, then off you go. So, anywho, yeah. Tune in next week. We'll have some more cut up video snippets from the track day today. Summary, HOD, PNW, great start. Very excited for the year. We will announce when the Dundon, hooked on Dundon, if you will. I think Ted came up with that. Track days will be available. There will be a very small amount of folks who are available, probably less than 20 would be my guess. I don't really, 20 kind of works for an open track day because not everybody goes out at the same time. There'll be, the cost will be commensurate with it being a very limited number of folks. Dundon will sponsor it a little bit. I'm not going to give you guys a free track day. I'd love to, but you know, times are tough with all these tariffs and whatnot that are coming. So we got to be ready. Got to be ready. You know, I don't expect to sell anything to our Canadian friends until the tariffs are at least a little bit more understood. Yeah, enough. I'm going to finish my drink and not drive drunk, as our friend whose English is questionable was, I don't know, postulating, asking, unsure. So, and I believe Ed would approve of this Whiskey Friday, except for the one little bit about me going after the Instagram denigration that I didn't exactly find very nice, but you know, try not to take things too personally. Everybody likes something. And any of you who don't want to use PFC, I don't care. So there you go. If you want them, great. If you don't want them, also great. Doesn't matter to me. But if you ask me what my opinion is, I'm going to tell you, and it isn't to use PCCBs. So continue to get all our exhaust from China. You mean the exhaust from China that blows in because they have horrible pollution in China and it blows into the Pacific Northwest? Is that the exhaust we're talking about? Because it's most certainly not the parts that we manufacture. So there you go. And I also know that Ed is yanking my chain, so I don't have to take the bait. You all have a wonderful Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Hawaiian Filipino. Yeah, right? And we'll talk to you all next week. Hopefully you had a wonderful week. Talk to you guys soon. Good night.